In a kingdom full of magic and power, a commoner is suffering terribly as people around mock him for his weak magic skills. A prince challenges him to show his power, but he only manages a tiny flame. The prince then uses his strong magic to destroy the common man, who, in his final moments, wishes for another chance to feel such powerful magic. Miraculously, the man wakes up as a baby in a castle, surrounded by maids. Thinking they are enemies, he accidentally releases a powerful fire spell, causing chaos and celebration as it's his birth. The kingdom celebrates the arrival of the seventh prince, Lloyd, with grand announcements and joy. Years later, as maids search for him in the castle, he sneaks out, avoiding them. Lloyd meets two men who recognize his potential and invite him to join them on a hunt, but he declines, preferring to be alone. Despite his royal birth, Lloyd decides not to pursue the path of power and glory, but to explore the vast magical knowledge within the castle's library. In the library, Lloyd is caught by Silfa, his designated sword trainer, who insists he must learn to wield a sword as part of his royal duties. Although he resists, realizing he needs to show skill to avoid further pursuit, he agrees to train. In their sword training session, Lloyd was trying some sneaky tricks. He used magic to follow Silfa's moves, but even with his tricks, Silfa was still winning because she was stronger and taller. Lloyd didn't give up. He used more magic to make his sword longer and make himself levitate, thinking this would help him win. But she quickly figured out what he was doing and blocked his attack. Silfa wasn't fooled by Lloyd's tricks and even knocked his sword away. She was impressed, though, that he could use two spells at once, something even the best magicians struggled with. After the match, Silfa took Lloyd to the maid's bath, but he didn't want to go, hoping to sneak off to the library instead. The maids joked about a library demon called Grimoire that scared naughty kids. This caught Lloyd's attention, even though Silfa thought the story was just an old fairy tale. The maids argued about who would stay with Lloyd tonight, giving him a chance to escape to the underground library. He used a magic spell to hide from the guards and sneaked past them. They believed no one could break the powerful seal on the library, but Lloyd did it easily and went inside. Lloyd was amazed by the underground library. As he settled down with a book, another book started floating and a demon emerged from it. The demon introduced himself as Grimoire, the same one from the maid's stories. Grimoire tried to convince him to set him free. However, Lloyd planned to strengthen the seal to keep Grimoire from causing trouble, but the demon tried to make a deal. Grimoire promised to teach Lloyd powerful ancient magic, which really caught Lloyd's interest. Lloyd thought about how he was once told he'd never be good at magic because he was just a commoner. Now, as a prince, he felt he might really have a chance to learn great magic. Excited, Lloyd released Grimoire from the seal. Right after being freed, Grimoire attacked Lloyd with a strong ancient flame spell, hoping to escape quickly. But Lloyd was ready with a magic barrier that protected him. Impressed by the demon's magic, Lloyd asked Grimoire to show more. Grimoire, frustrated but intrigued by Lloyd's barrier, tried even stronger spells, but none worked against Lloyd. Lloyd was so fascinated by the spells, he even caught some of the magic on his finger to study it. Grimoire, seeing no way to beat Lloyd, tried to flee, but found himself trapped by another of Lloyd's barriers. Lloyd explained he wasn't trying to trap Grimoire, he was trying to protect the library. Annoyed and out of patience, Grimoire attempted one last powerful attack, but Lloyd was ready and countered with a massive fire spell of his own. Grimoire couldn't dodge in time and was hit hard. Surprised by Lloyd's power and how he quickly fixed the library after the battle, Grimoire decided to respect Lloyd and offered to serve him as a familiar. Lloyd accepted, but asked Grimoire to transform into something smaller and less noticeable. Grimoire turned into a small, cute demon, hoping to find a way to betray Lloyd later. However, when Grimoire tried to attach himself to Lloyd to take over, he was shocked by the strength of Lloyd's magical energy. Realizing he couldn't control Lloyd, Grimoire gave up on his plan and decided to obediently follow Lloyd. Lloyd took this chance to explore all the books in the Forbidden Library, learning as much as he could. While enjoying his time in the library, Lloyd gets a surprise visit. Grim quickly went to hide because he doesn't want anyone seeing him. The visitor turns out to be his big brother, Albert, the second prince of the kingdom. They go to the shooting range for some practice. Albert is praised for his accurate fire spell on a target, but Lloyd doesn't want to stand out because he doesn't care about the fight for the throne. So when it's his turn, Lloyd purposely misses the targets, making the nobles think less of him. Afterward, Albert takes a break, leaving Lloyd alone at the range. Excited, Lloyd wants to try new magic spells, like the double incantation that Grim used. However, Grim says it's impossible for humans because it requires growing a second mouth, something only demons can do. But Lloyd comes up with a wild idea idea to absorb Grimm and grow a second mouth on his hand. Shocked, Grimm just goes along with it, unsure of what to expect from Lloyd's crazy ideas. They start casting spells together, but it quickly becomes too much for Grimm, who isn't used to stacking so many spells at once. Lloyd takes over completely, using both his own and Grimm's mouth to cast spells. The result is a massive blast that creates a hole in the sky, visible all the way from the town. Meanwhile, Albert isn't fooled by Lloyd's behavior at the shooting range. Knowing Lloyd is a prodigy who might become a grand sage one day, he genuinely wants to support his little brother, even if the nobles doubt Lloyd's potential. The next day, rumors about the mysterious hole in the sky spread across the kingdom, but Lloyd is more interested in news about an A-ranked adventurer party that cleared a difficult dungeon and looted some magical items. Eager to try it himself, Lloyd thinks about sneaking out of the castle. To cover his escape, Lloyd creates a wooden copy of himself from an acorn and casts a spell on it. However, he is skeptical this copy can fool anyone, especially Silfa, who is very observant about Lloyd. Nonetheless, Lloyd has a plan and leaves the castle undetected, asking Grimm to keep an eye on things and maintain their communication. Though he can't help feeling uneasy about how easily Lloyd can rip his soul from his body and put it inside the wooden copy, then he took his body and reabsorbed it into his hand so they could maintain communication. With Lloyd out of the castle, he feels free to have as much fun as he wants, but he forgets he's still on speakerphone. Lloyd ignores Grimm's evil laugh and tells Grimm he's counting on him to keep things quiet back home. Grimm is moved by Lloyd's trust and starts to cry. Lloyd asks if he's okay, and Grimm just tells him to hurry back when he's done having fun. Lloyd then realizes he doesn't know where any dungeons are. While trying to decide what to do next, he sees a girl being chased by a bunch of orcs. The girl is super fast. She spins around and drop kicks one orc so hard she has to pull herself out of its body. Then she jumps at two more orcs, knocking them out with one hit each. When another orc sneaks up behind her, she flips and sends it flying into the sky. Grimm tells Lloyd that she must be a martial artist. Lloyd is curious about her because he knows she uses a special energy called chi, which is different from magic. After she beats the orcs, the girl looks up at the mountain where Lloyd is hiding. She thinks he's an enemy because he hasn't shown himself. Lloyd panics a little as she runs up the mountain towards him. Quickly, he changes his appearance with magic, turning himself into an older adventurer named Robert. When the girl sees him, she's totally amazed and introduces herself as Tao, a B-ranked adventurer. Tao has never had a boyfriend and thinks Lloyd is perfect. She insists on joining him to explore a dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Tao fights monsters impressively, but Lloyd is more interested in studying the stones on the ground. They talk about why Tao adventures alone. She tells him it's hard to find good teammates, especially hot guys. They share a meal, and Lloyd asks about the chi techniques she used. Tao is surprised he knows about chi since it's different from magic and involves special breathing to enhance physical abilities. Lloyd tries to copy her chi techniques and starts to feel the energy, but it's so strong that he almost hurts himself. Tao warns him it's dangerous without proper training, but Lloyd is too curious to stop. Tao agrees to teach him more about chi. As they finish defeating the dungeon boss with a powerful chi blast from Tao, a treasure chest appears. Tao feels even more drawn to Lloyd because of his quick learning. But as they approach the chest, a surprise attack from the dungeon's hidden boss, Lich, targets them. Lloyd quickly pulls Tao out of the way, excited to face this new challenge. Tao quickly pretends the Lich is no big deal. She insists that Lloyd should leave the dungeon while she handles the fight, but Lloyd wants to stay and watch. She sends Lloyd flying out of the dungeon with her chi technique, thinking it's too dangerous for him to stay. Lloyd, while still airborne from Tao's push, is disappointed because he wanted to learn more. He stops himself mid-air, killing two innocent goblins. He reaches out to Grimm for advice. However, Grimm is unresponsive and only tells Lloyd to come home and save him. Tao is struggling. As she tries to retreat, the Lich speaks up, revealing he consumes the souls of adventurers to absorb their wisdom and skills. He dismisses Tao's chi techniques as mere low-level magic, but he's intrigued by Lloyd's quick reactions. Despite her predicament, Tao confronts the Lich, attacking his barrier with fury. She's fueled by years of dedicated chi training, frustrated by her sacrifices, including her lack of a personal life. Her powerful final blow seems to have an impact, but she exhausts her chi, leaving her defenseless. The Lich, still unharmed, belittles her efforts and uses a spell to crush her. Just then, Lloyd swoops in to save her. Lloyd quickly takes over, explaining he has little time and must end the fight swiftly. Tao, bewildered, watches Lloyd adopt a serious demeanor. Lloyd surprises everyone by using chi breathing techniques and an advanced air class spell called Full Sprint without an incantation. The Lich tries to attack, but Lloyd's barriers are impressively strong. Focused on mastering the blend of chi and mana, Lloyd intensifies his breathing to power up his spell. Misreading Lloyd's actions, the Lich thinks he's winning and moves in for a final blow, but Lloyd is quick on his feet and dodges every attack. Tao watches in shock. realizing that Lloyd himself broke his barrier to allow more air in, aiming to enhance his chi technique. As he combines his chi and mana, creating a powerful new attack. He laughs wildly as he bombards the Lich with a flurry of enhanced attacks. He taunts the Lich, urging him not to give up because he's just getting started with his experiments. The Lich is baffled, and when the Lich raises his barrier in defense, it's futile. Lloyd's attack slices right through, defeating the Lich. After the battle, Tao is disappointed by their loot, a seemingly ordinary old dagger, but Lloyd senses it's been infused with mana. Just then, the dungeon begins to collapse, a mechanic Tao explains happens after the boss is defeated and the treasure claimed. Lloyd quickly grabs the chest and they escape just in time. Outside, Tao compliments Lloyd's magical prowess but questions why he ended the fight with a chi technique. Was it to defend her honor against the Lich's mockery? Lloyd casually mentions he did it, just for fun. He then rushes off, remembering he needs to get home. Tao is determined to master the advanced chi technique Lloyd used, hoping to impress him the next time they meet. Back at home, Lloyd finds Grim in terrible shape. Silfa had taken the fake Lloyd for intense training, questioning why Lloyd has gotten so weak. Lloyd shows Grim the dagger, explaining it's a real treasure, bathed in mana essence. Lloyd demonstrates the dagger's true value by placing it in hot water and scraping it, revealing the mana essence, a rare material used for enchanting weapons. The ingredients of mana essence, oil, silver, and hematite made from powdering a monster's core, are rare, but Lloyd realizes they can synthesize the hematite using resources from the dungeon chest he brought home. After receiving some silver coins from his father, Lloyd and Grim head to their hideout and melt the silver. Then, Lloyd makes a playful bet with Silfa. If he can land an attack on her, she will give him some oil. Using his magic to immobilize her, Lloyd nearly wins, but Silfa manages to evade him at the last moment and wins the fight. Still, she kindly gives him the oil, impressed by his improvement. Grim, still upset from a previous encounter with Silfa, is salty that Silfa managed to beat him. Silfa curiously asks what Lloyd is cooking with the oil, but Lloyd just leaves and says, "Let me cook." Back at their hideout, Lloyd and Grim add the oil to their concoction and successfully create mana essence. Next, Lloyd asks Albert for some weapons to test his enchantment magic. Albert, finding Lloyd's enthusiasm adorable, asks his troops to volunteer their weapons. The troops are hesitant, knowing enchantment often fails, and they secretly worry Lloyd might ruin their swords. Grim, overhearing their doubts, gets fired up. He and Lloyd dive into the enchantment process with determination. Lloyd, acting like a mad scientist, applies 3 layers of boost power to the swords, packing every inch with spells. Predictably, many swords break due to the intense enchantments. After numerous trials and errors, Lloyd masters the technique. He returns 50 of the 120 swords to Albert, apologizing for breaking 70. The troops are skeptical, assuming Lloyd gave up after the failures and is just lying. Albert, however, is astounded by the success rate, which far exceeds that of a first-rate enchanter. He's amazed by one particularly well-enchanted sword. Lloyd hopes to see the troops use these weapons in battle, and his timing couldn't be better. Albert reveals they're about to go on a monster hunt. Lloyd is super excited to join Albert on a monster hunt. It's not every day he gets to leave the castle, so this feels like a rare adventure. Albert teases Silfa about her never leaving Lloyd's side, implying that her feelings for Lloyd might be a bit too strong. Silfa silences him with a touch of her sword, but she is just preparing to fight off some kobolds that just appear. While Lloyd pretends to be scared, Grim knows Lloyd sensed the danger long ago. One of the chi techniques Tao taught him, called spectral detection, lets Lloyd sense his surroundings all the time. Grim thinks Lloyd gets scarier every day, thinking he is more of a demon than himself. The fight begins, and everyone is amazed at how sharp their newly enchanted swords are. The soldiers are freaking out like they're holding a bomb. Lloyd is happy his enchantments worked, and Albert proudly announces that his little brother is an enchanting prodigy. Silfa agrees Lloyd is the best, standing over a pile of kobolds, but Lloyd clarifies that he didn't enchant her sword. Just then, a kobold lunges at Lloyd, but Tao appears out of nowhere and takes it down. Lloyd almost calls her name out loud, forgetting he is not Robert, which make Tao suspicious of him, because he looks a lot like Robert. Silfa thanks Tao, but warns her to not get too close to Lloyd. Tensions rise between them, so Albert calms them down and invites Tao to join their group. That night, Tao is shocked to learn Albert is a prince. Lloyd, hiding nearby, realizes Tao's proficiency with chi makes her very sensitive. He was using spectral detection, and that's how she found him. Lloyd decides to hide in his tent, but Silfa is already there, changing. Lloyd insists he doesn't need her protection, but Silfa disagrees, not liking how the new girl is chasing after him. Tao barges in at the wrong time, and the argument escalates. So Lloyd uses the moment to escape. Albert jokes that Lloyd is a lady killer, but warns that relationships are complicated. The girls notice the soldiers watching them too closely and knock them all out. Lloyd understands Albert's message now. Tao explains she was hired to clean up an old shrine nearby, which Silfa tells her to hurry up and leave. They almost start arguing, but Albert steps in, noting Tao's danger-sensing ability is really helpful. He asks her to be their lookout for the night. Tao points out they won't need one because the monster is already here. The monster is a terrifying bear wolf. The bear wolf charges, and Lloyd gasps at how fast it is for its size. He tries talking to Grimm, but Grimm is distracted, his eyes fixed on the shrine. Tao uses her chi blast, but the bear wolf just won't go down. Albert, fed up, draws his sword and chants an incantation, unleashing a powerful fire attack, cooking the monster. Everyone is amazed, but Albert explains his attack was only possible because of Lloyd's enchantment on his sword. Lloyd grins, thinking about how his extra boost worked. Grimm, though, looks worried and reveals there's a demon sealed in the shrine Tao mentioned. Suddenly, the bear wolf starts moving again. More monsters appear, and an angry voice echoes. It's the demon Pazuzu, upset they hurt his minion. All the minions are easy to slice, but they heal instantly. Albert almost gets attacked by a monster, but Tao comes in just in time. Lloyd wonders if Grimm knows this demon, but Grimm shakes his head, explaining Pazuzu uses his mana transmutation to control the monsters, making them think he's their master. His mana strings control and heal them. Grimm warns that if they don't take Pazuzu down, things will get really bad. But Lloyd, obsessed with everything magic, wants Grimm to teach him mana transmutation. Meanwhile, Silfa wishes Tao would hurry up and do something, but Tao points out Silfa isn't helping either. Grimm tells Lloyd this isn't the time to learn, but Lloyd insists they'll be fine and demands Grimm teach him. Watching the battle, Pazuzu notes that while some opponents have skill, most survive because of their weapons. He spots Lloyd and taunts him, saying he's hiding like a scared baby. Silfa's face flushes with anger as Pazuzu laughs, saying it must be hard to take care of someone as pathetic as Lloyd. Tao suddenly senses powerful energy from Silfa. She is not happy that Pazuzu is trash-talking about his beloved Lloyd. Silfa fires back, saying the minions smell terrible, and Pazuzu's breath is even worse. She decides to end his life because he is affecting Lloyd's fresh air. But Pazuzu laughs, saying he supplies the minions with mana, so they keep regenerating, and demons never run out of mana. Albert worries when the demon attacks Silfa, but when the smoke cleared, he sees she cuts off all the monster's feet. Because of this, the minions stop moving and regenerate slower because the demon focuses his mana on healing its bear wolf. Seeing this, Albert tells Silfa to keep injuring the demon while they deal with the others. Nearby, Grimm finishes his lesson with Lloyd. Grimm demonstrates mana control, starting with adding color, then shaping and adding scents. Grimm struggles with it, but he's shocked when Lloyd already shaped his mana into a scented flower. They enjoy the nice smell for a moment. Meanwhile, Pazuzu is distressed as Silfa is beating him. He can't understand how a maid can be so powerful. Silfa then borrows a soldier's sword, enchanted by Lloyd. She takes a moment to admire Lloyd's enchantment, and she is very proud of him. Her obsession with Lloyd makes Pazuzu interested in him, so he declares he wants to dissect him, making Silfa angrier. The demon eats Silfa and mocks her for falling for his provocation. He's stunned when Silfa slices the bear wolf's body in half. She uses her family's landless dual blade art, Twin Dragons Rising, and follows it with Diving Sparrow, slicing the monster's head off. Pazuzu tries to belittle her as a maid, but Silfa uses another art to destroy the wolf and expose the demon. Everyone is stunned by her power. Lloyd realizes this is Silfa when she's serious and memorizing the moment by shaping his mana into her form. Silfa is disgusted by the demon trying to hurt Lloyd and declares the only thing he's fit to touch is her blade. Silfa tells the demon to surrender, but she is shocked when he begins to breathe out purple smoke. While the others finish off the demon's minions, Albert knows it's not over and they need to back up Silfa. Suddenly, everyone collapses because of the demon's purple breath. Pazuzu is furious since he has been building up those minions for over a century. He blames Silfa for ruining his plan and attacks, sending her into the river. Pazuzu reveals that his purple breath is his miasma of domination, and all who inhale it fall under his control. Silfa points out that this must be why it smells so bad, making Pazuzu even more upset. His attack meant for Silfa is blocked by Tao. Silfa tries to act tough and tells Tao to run, but she is too injured and collapses. Pazuzu is impressed by Tao since she took more of his miasma than anyone else and still defied him. Tao kicks him back, but he captures her. Pazuzu assumes Tao is using a breeding technique to withstand his miasma, and he is correct. Pazuzu thinks she stayed because she wanted to become his minion. Tao pushes him away again and states that she is waiting for a hottie, then uses her most powerful attack, Thunderquake Pulse. She realizes she got too heated and tries to steady her breathing, but is attacked by regenerated puppets. Pazuzu gets tired of talking and uses his maximum domination miasma, thinking Tao will surely be under his control now. Tao realizes the hottie she mentioned is closer than she thought. She reveals that the hottest guy is coming to destroy Pazuzu, but he interrupts her and yobbles her up. Pazuzu then turns his attention to Silfa, planning to make her his minion and do some sus thing to her. Pazuzu reveals he eliminated his minion's parents and used his miasma to trick them, which Lloyd says Pazuzu is awful. Pazuzu is shocked when he sees Lloyd moving in his miasma and demands to know how it's possible. Lloyd doesn't know. Pazuzu is even more shocked when he realizes Grimm is a demon siding with humans. Pazuzu insults Grimm and orders his minions to attack. Lloyd gets excited to test his new magic. Lloyd visualizes something gentle and warm, and all the minions snap out of Pazuzu's control. Pazuzu is shocked. Lloyd has one of the bear wolves spit out Tao, glad to see she is okay. Pazuzu tries to control his minions again, but Grimm points out it's too late. The bear wolves remember Pazuzu eliminated their parents and attack him in a pack. But Pazuzu shows he's still a powerful demon and punishes the bear wolves for attacking him. He doesn't regret eliminating their parents and calls them worthless. Pazuzu is really upset and says that no matter what kind of spells Lloyd uses, they will be ineffective against a demon. He declares he will show his true power. Lloyd, excited like a crazy kid, is thrilled to unleash his power on Pazuzu. Pazuzu is horrified by the dark power emanating from Lloyd's body. Grimm points out that this is why Pazuzu's mana never affected Lloyd. Both Pazuzu and Grimm are demons, but their mana can't compare to Lloyd's power. Lloyd, a little psycho as always, is happy to test all the spells he's been wanting to try on the demon. Pazuzu is shocked when Lloyd tries to put a barrier around him. He realizes Lloyd just sees him as a test subject and is trying to put him in a cage. Pazuzu tries to run away, and Grimm doesn't blame him since he would do the same thing. Grimm watches in amazement and wonders how many spells Lloyd can cast at once. Lloyd explains he can cast around 20, but teams up with Grimm to cast even more. Life gets harder for Pazuzu as he must dodge more barriers. Pazuzu compliments himself for dodging so much, but is soon caught by Lloyd's spatial spell called Dimensional Enclosure. Pazuzu begs to be let go, offering to raise Lloyd's standing when he takes over the world, but Lloyd refuses. He tells Pazuzu he has done terrible things to the bear wolves and recites a crazy incantation. He estimates he's activating 240 spells per minute. Amazed by how beautiful it looks, he decides to continue for another 30 minutes. However, after just 5 minutes, Lloyd fears the demon might already be dead. The overwhelming amount of magic Lloyd used has done serious damage to Pazuzu. Pazuzu is falling apart and thinks about how he spent a century raising those monsters. He was supposed to rule the world, but it was all ended by a kid doing an experiment on him. Lloyd is shocked to see everyone waking up and doesn't want them to find out about his incredible power, so he runs off to think of an excuse. Grimm tells Pazuzu that people don't want leaders who complain. They prefer someone who enjoys life, like Lloyd, who always does what he likes. That's why people flock to him. Grimm remembers to keep his tough guy act and says he's just gathering strength to get revenge on Lloyd someday. Pazuzu decides to entrust his ambition of world domination to Grimm. Grimm accepts and is glad to see Pazuzu's mana, restoring him a bit. Lloyd comes up with an excuse, telling everyone that a guy named Robert showed up to defeat the demon and save them. Tao hears this and foams at the mouth, wondering where Robert is. The town celebrates the return of Prince Albert. They think Lloyd is cute, but doesn't compare to the great Albert, which upsets Silfa. The king is pleased with Albert and wonders about the two adventurers who helped. Albert explains that Robert was never seen, but we see Tao realizing she was wearing Lloyd's poncho. Lloyd tricked her into leaving by saying Robert was nearby. The king is very interested in Robert, but Albert shockingly explains that Lloyd contributed the most to the hunt with his enchanted weapons. Albert thinks Lloyd should be considered part of the royal succession. The king points out this would create another rival for Albert, but Albert believes the throne should go to the worthiest, even if it's not him. The king is excited and asks Lloyd if he will join the struggle for the throne. Everyone is in awe, but Lloyd calmly declines. Outside, Lloyd runs around with a stick, and a bear wolf jumps out to play with him. The bear wolf followed them home, and Lloyd thinks it's cute and fluffy. Grimm gets jealous and fluffs himself up, trying to get the same reaction. Silfa arrives and sees how much the bear wolf likes Lloyd. Lloyd hides Grimm inside its fur, naming the bear wolf Shiro and wanting to teach it stuff. Grimm is amazed by Lloyd, who turned down a chance at the throne so casually. Lloyd always cares about magic and is a true magic maniac. The king watches nearby and is excited to see what Lloyd's future holds.